Kong. Here we go. We're on. Good evening once again from Chile, Belize. I know everybody that's in diasporas, they say, "Oh, that you think that cool? That not cool, Mr. Man." For me, it is cool. Comforter came out last night. You're gonna be out tonight. I wish I'm bringing it out the night before that. For the last 3 nights, it has been downright chilly. I am G. Michael Reed. Our three-legged stool is here every Wednesday, and the other two guys are going to jump in very soon. But there's no shortage of personalities here tonight. We have to introduce the lovely Sharon Pitts, attorney at law, and I have to talk a little bit about Sharon in a minute. And of course, the one and only homie, Louis Gill. I must say that Sharon is the person who was instrumental in getting the Charlie Burton Foundation off the ground. And I never know that I meet him per chance at the registry building. She to do something, and I tried stumble with this thing. I can't get nobody for even give me no advice. And Sharon said, come, I can show you how to do it. And we are now a registered non-profit organization. And we're doing well, Sharon. We're doing a big Christmas thing this Sunday, by the way. And you'll have to stop by and see the Drunken Dancers and the Boom and Shine. That is mostly what we want to talk about
I
tonight.
could bring along my jackass jawbone, but Emerson have to play.
Well, I know Emerson probably got turtle shells and whatnot. Where you play, Emerson?
I play bass on stage when
And where you get Louis from? Can't nobody know you as no Louis.
That is a story by itself, a Creole tale, and I want to give it to you right now since you asked about it. Louis is the name of my father, right?
Okay.
And in my mother and my father's relationship, Louis was this flamboyant gentleman where getting a trouble plenty. So
when you get in a trouble in my bad.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with the talk.
So I shed the name Louis because when you hear Louis, that one lick become behind it.
Oh,
so I said that.
So Emerson, your middle name?
Emerson is my middle name, and so I would, when anybody asks me, "What's your name?" Emerson.
But you know what interesting though is that how many Belizeans go by their middle name. My name, the reason for my G being abbreviated is my first name is not Michael. I mean, everybody know me. Even my father knew me as Michael. When I went to do my apply for my passport, I was 15 years old. That's the first time I realized why Michael and your name. And lady said, "Sign George." I said, "No man, I don't name so." Say, "Yes, your name so." So I think what happened is that the people, your parents weren't always the one who registered you. And I got an uncle named George, my godfather, my name George, and he got register me, and I think he give me his name. But my father was never happy about that. But anyway, the whole we Belizeans have an interesting way about us. Even with name, a lot of people they don't know them by their name, only by their nickname. Cause like you, a lot of people don't know you name. Emerson Gill or Louis Gill. You near homie. And when you say homie, there's only one man. They're like Baila. When you say Baila, the only one.
God rest the dead, man.
I didn't know his name till last week.
Yeah. He's and by the way, we're doing a trophy in his honor. A nice trophy by one ball. Lot of money trophy cast. It was sponsored by your ballet homie Bandit.
All right. Ernesto Brandigo.
Yes, man. Another one who nobody name know him unless he put it up on Facebook, right? But we're good with nicknames. Sharon, what's your nickname?
He got so much name. My parents give me 5 names. Then I'm married plus one fella had 6 names. I get some leftover name because they had 3 sons, then one daughter. So names are left over. But I used to have it because I had one uncle and granduncle. They used to call him Antics, but he not my brother master, that's a terror story. But he used to take my name and all kind of version of Sherry, Shara. And then between my mom, my father used to pull my leg because my father insisted I was named Sharon after a lady who used to work in a place that sold food, and apparently they had some other behavior in the establishment. And my mother insisted I was named after Rose of Sharon in the Bible. Right?
Wow. Well,
Then the middle name, the family name. Then I get name well left over from my sister before me. And what else? Born in the month of June.
okay.
And then Jacqueline Kennedy or Nassis. So I have the Jackie in it too. But in primary school, one young man called me Sharon, June, July, August, Spitz. You
And
know,
that's
Rufus
so.
Rufa Westby Emerson.
Yes, yes.
And that the name was stuck by you then.
I
June,
never
July.
respond. I noticed when Creole is Crawford your name,
What?
you play like you're not bad about
But
it.
you don't have to respond once it stick. And it's funny, okay, you mentioned the nickname Antics. And I don't know if that is the same man, but I remember one Antics, but the names are so creative. You know, I had a friend of mine, Bakatong, we used to call her. Yeah, I mean, they're just some creative nicknames they come up with.
Mhm.
Where I could think about. Because there's so many other,
A
well,
lot of nicknames, man. We had
Tell you what, a
some
book
time
was being
ago,
written, you know.
how people used to chase we as children, you
all
know.
right, all
Then
right.
then there are folklore for us as
Then you
children.
had,
That
yeah,
part of a big folklore for true.
you
Yeah.
had Belizean, the ghost, they had name too, you know.
Oh
Okay, you
yes.
dig it up a little but a hole. I don't know if I may have to grow up on Cemetery Road for know about him.
Oh,
The- Then you
Half
got Measibo,
half dead.
you see. So the whole Creole thing. Now
I
we
had
want
one man and lady, they say you couldn't hire one with all the other one me short and thick and one me long and lanky like me. And they said I used to call it close spinner line stick.
so they come together. They had
Yes.
to, yeah. But the whole Creole culture thing, because we get it every year. We hear the culture capital, La Dangriga, and La Dangriga got their culture. And I'm glad when I think that Bella Karimi come out to the song "Who Said Creole Naga No Culture."
No, that was
Yeah.
Lila. Lila.
Dalila, no.
Right.
But
Uh-huh.
but I
I believe that it has always been the heart, the whole cultural, commercial, charming, charismatic capital. That the
believe.
heart and soul of Belize culture
Uh,
can't get found that captivating. You just have to start to call it that again. And if anybody
promote
else
it.
wants to
Yeah.
call it culture, whatever, we got enough love to go wrong. But Belize City, that the heart and soul of that,
But
undeniable, right?
I have always believed that we should have a cultural day as opposed to just one designated to one ethnic group, because there are so many of us here in Belize now. You got the Mennonites, you got the Hindus, you got the Chinese, everybody got their only, like the Chinese got their Chinese New Year, and when I raised a lot of us, and while we're all under one umbrella of one nation, I think all of us should celebrate our ethnic diversity and our own uniqueness, but we have to all do it maybe at one time where everybody just
G Mike,
uh,
I would like to say that we have not given 1797 Flowers Bank 40
yes,
its
yes,
due
yes,
respect.
yes, yes,
Have
yes,
we never had those men paddling down the river to come to Belize to
yes,
make a
yes,
vote
yes,
at
yes,
that
yes.
particular time? We would not have a Belize today, because most of the people in those days, the magistrates and everybody else, were determined to abandon in fear
Yes,
of the Spanish Armada that was impending.
yes, yes, yes,
So I would say for Belize, its independence, its birthing, the national backbone is 1797, Flowers Bank Day, 1st of June.
well, I have written a few articles advocating for that being a national holiday. In fact, I would more have wanted that as opposed to Emancipation Day, because we're not yet even emancipated, and emancipation did not happen on a particular day. It was something where they say, all right, on a free, but you still weren't free because you had to slave. So I think maybe we need to look at that, because that story there, Emerson, needs to be told. And
That immense history
it has to be.
equal to none. unequal except by way of what happened with Toussaint Louverture in Haiti. Belizeans better wake up to this great history and do this country justice and the people of Flowers Bank justice.
Yeah,
When we hold on to that, we hold on to this country. And I'm not saying it out of romance, I'm saying it out of strong conviction and a mandate which all of we have to understand.
G Mike,
The
yeah.
grace of
every 1st of June, we have a pilgrimage where we go and do a libation ceremony in Flowers Bank. We've been doing it now for so many years, and I remember how much cars that get old, right? But I have to tell you that on one of those occasions, we had Miss Sharon Pitts telling this story while we were riding the bus. And I wish there was a video of us doing it at that time. But I believe we'll get her again because
Well, the passion that she shows for it, the passion she shows.
well, I'm saying it to her now because it's like I beg right now. I present my case for her to be on the bus the next 1st of June, and I will make sure that the equipment for us to record her telling this story, so that our children will be able to hear it.
You know, we also need to reach out to diaspora and have them embed that in their whole narrative, because we need to promote it more. It is a tale of courage, and
Yes.
I'm always, and people who dispute and argue against the 10th of September even, I'm saying, listen, you go to the Bible and tell about the walls of Jericho that came tumbling down. David, they killed one giant with a stone. That the same kind of move, and that God bless Belize, you know, God love Belize. I got it from good grounds, and it's obvious every time we see it.
when you said that, Mr. Reed, you know, you know, that's one of the things I jot down. This divine providence. And I'll tell you, say something quickly, right? Belize history, the Battle of St. George's Key is so well documented. And if I made a court and they tell the case in a 60 seconds, I'd say, look, the Spain which was defeated has the history. You don't have to look to just English sources, Mexican sources, sources from Belize, the settlement. The diaries of Captain General Arturo O'Neill. Remember that time when they go this armada go into battle? They
Right.
have the historian on board. And
Yeah.
the original manuscript transcribed, I think you had Vergara de Solis. When you look at that history, you say, wow, and that country, Spain, I understand, contributed back that history to Belize, but we are a people who, I always, and when the disquiet, the problem is when anybody who would start to deny a country's history would start to dissolve that country. You have to be very, very careful, and we have to lean back. We have to make people understand our history will not be denied, our country will not be denied. You take away Belize, even with this ICJ thing, one of the strongest thing, and that enemy, where the red out of our country, and they even call that place one name anyway, that wicked regime, they exclude references to it too, because they know what it is. That for we people, by the grace of God, for we people, despite the odds, and it's well documented, and as my grandfather said, I think he gave an impromptu speech, Roderick Augustus speech at Liberty Hall, 1946. I don't have it exact. If the Battle of St. George's Key was a myth, then the Battle of Trafalgar and Blenheim and Waterloo. And if we celebrate certain things, not to have a holiday, we have statutes enough. We celebrate victories of people everywhere. How much more will we not celebrate the blood of those baymen? And baymen are people of the bay. The most common name in Belize, I think, is Flowers. Everybody linked by affinity or consanguinity. The Belize, when you start to crisscross, and it was Black people who made the decision. Blacks were voting in 1797. Blacks, women voted in 1765 at St. George's Key. Suffragette movement in Europe, Australia, England, America come long after World War
We were way ahead of the game.
always ahead.
You know, Sharon, that our Barnaby Code precedes even the American Constitution.
Of course. I'm glad you said, and I'll tell you something. I made a read only one book where somebody write about the American Constitution, and they had a big mistake in it. They said something, and they said the first of its kind Constitution. No, no, no.
No,
And
no.
I'm pretty sure even Emory King, who came here, used to write. And when you trace back in 1723, the people of the Bay voted to sell logwood and mahogany to assist the liberation effort in what would become the United States. And guess what? There's a church in Boston, and I've been at the church, and there's a pew reserved for gentlemen of the Bay. Because you know what? The same church is the church where they repute that Paul Revere warned that the British were coming, ring the bell. But instead, one black man actually who was working under him ring the bell. But you know why? Because they were inspired in part by the people of the Bay. And all SS Constitution, I toured it as a child, and I toured it about 6 years ago in Boston Harbor.
Mhm.
And it was called All Ironsides because the legend was that the hull was made from iron. Because when the British would fire the cannons, they would bounce off. But it's actually made of wood. And guess what? Oliver Weldon Holmes, the Chief Justice of the United States, former, wrote a four-stanza poem. That was all about All Ironsides. And I want to say this. My grandfather wrote the epic The Battle and the Flag, published in 1928 in British Honduras. 34 stanzas about, it's a historic poem, but a record, an ode to the Battle of St. George's Key in British Honduras. Can't beat that.
But why do
Van
you?
Centenary, the poet laureate, the modern Shakespeare of London, dramatized that. Emerson, didn't we present that at Government House?
Yes, we
But
did.
I just say that because you can multiply that by many other people, loyal and patriotic people of Belize,
Sharon,
nationals of Belize,
let me
who
inject
carry
this
this
to you.
history and patrimony.
I just got up to go find a document that I must present to you and your family because I have the actual written speech from Roderick Pitts, the UN in Liberty Hall.
Wow.
Interesting. You see? So you got history right there to get.
My family one burnt up in the fire, so I would be grateful for
I
that.
have that. I have that, and I've been telling you about this for 1 year now, and I jumped up thinking I had it here in Belize City, but now I'm going to have
Mhm.
to go look in Belmopan because I moved everything that could get damaged by flood and hurricane from Belize City to
You got like
Belmopan.
you
So
when you did that 1972 too when everything else gone up upon.
no, I just did that Belmopan thing now over the past 7, 8 years.
Well, hurricane stop gonna believe no man. Listen to me. Why is Liberty Hall being left to go into decay? Why?
Man, that is a story. Liberty Hall is a love of my life. Let me put it that way. I have over, I would say, hundreds of pictures of the work that we do there to keep that building up. Eventually, it's going to become the story in pictures. But I'm saying, when you look at Liberty Hall and you contrast the history of what has happened inside of that building in terms of the birth of Belizean politics, in terms of the birth of African descendants in Belize, Creoles, Garifuna, whatever we want to call these different
Ethnic groups,
ethnic
yeah.
groups. That's where they used to go. That was the hub for nationalism. And we believe that nationalism is being erased. And so buildings like the Liberty Hall that holds particular stories, that makes particular things become real. They want Liberty Hall to fall down and disappear.
Well,
Those people we are talking to know who they are. I had over, I would say, at least 10 or 15 meetings when they were doing the downtown rejuvenation program. where Liberty Hall was the #1 building on the agenda, but it became the what would you say, the mystery building that never really existed in terms of what they were doing and what they were thinking. Well, the Liberty Hall will come back to life.
That's what I'm getting ready to ask you, because in there somewhere we could raise some funds. We could maybe do the renovation.
Again, let me say this, and I have to finish telling this story. Samuel Haynes was I have to say abducted by Marcus Garvey to go and bring order to what he was doing in the United States, because it is Samuel Haynes' genius of administration that helped Garvey to establish that office. Well, I have to tell you that my advocacy has been for quite a few years, 10, 15 years in the United States or internationally through the internet. We have been able to get the UNIA to have a unification forum. That unification forum is now registered between 2007 and 2010. And we no longer have legitimate factions of the UNIA anymore. We have one UNIA, and it's called the UNIA ACL 1918-1929 of the world. That comes out of the Unification Conference that nobody wants to talk about. Again, we have to tell that story, because again, Belize was integral part of that creation and the integration of all that fractured.
Can I say this? Remember when Bert Tucker brought Professor Hill, who is the authority on Garvey in the world. I think he's a Jamaican, was at UCLA. The man was at government at Bliss, and he said to us, he said, I didn't want to come to Belize. He said, and last night I cried. I realized I was coming to the first place last. And I said this very quickly. The Martyr family, who also owned Key Chapel and Botanical Gardens, first self-made millionaire. And then I'm a family too, so I could tell you no details about that. But why I'm saying it is that they were Geechee. The part, and Geechee is a Creole word, and it means Geechee is both an African tribe and as well a trait.
Miserly.
But imagine the Geechees. He gave, and Emerson and I one time in Belmopan, we copied right away and we got stamped original of the Martyr, Isaiah Martyr will estate document. Long story short, this man was willing to, in a way, disinherit his family for African redemption. I will say this, the Liberty Hall that we know is a symbol, and we have to hold on to it and get it back to our people. Some years ago, I remember Emerson, you, myself, Dr. Abigail, I was physically sick, but 10th of September morning, Independence morning, over the time we were doing it, we were doing things which were university level by way of tutelage amongst ourselves, and I was being lectured and reading the authorities. But in short, what we understand from our thesis and synthesis is that Belize was the hub, it was a satellite, it was the example Isaiah Martyr and Marcus Garvey held up the satellite example. And when Samuel Haynes went, he was a brain trust. Isaiah Martyr, the Coconut King, was the financial legacy. And then you had a lot of others. So when I connected the dots, right, I am of a view that even a liberation movement in the US, and I can tell you, by the time I was at Sixth Form, one time, you know who taught me to float in the sea? Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael. So we had this connection. Then you'd see that Betty Shabazz still comes to Belize. And when you see what was happening in Belize in British Honduras 1919, long before some liberation movement in the wider Caribbean, the post, the veterans from World War One, the Samuel Haynes, the quiet person. These were the people who the lifeblood, the brain trust, the financial, and you know that UNIA, when you see the chapters, Black Cross nurses, this morning I woke up to somebody who was asking me about getting in touch with somebody for Black Cross. They had all their insignias, everything that they were to do, discipline, finance, economics, social programs. You'd have chills. Professor Hill said he could come back and give a lecture on just Methodist involvement in UNIA. He said to us at Bliss, Belizeans, wake up to your history. That is but a part of our history. Every time we get this wake up call, the sleeping giant, right? We no wake up. We to go through some kind of sleepwalking. Professor Hill, one Jamaican men march up. This man now a luminary. This man now a down to earth man. He studied this thing and he said, Belizeans, I came to the first place last. Wake up to the history. Won't come back. We're not bringing him back yet.
Sharon, let me say that I literally spent hours on hours with Professor Hill at the hotel because he never really want to go all over the place. He may prefer to sit down and try to transfer that knowledge that he had brought about Belize. And there is a very whole story that is behind what he said he came to the first place last. He said nobody truly understands that Isaiah Martha was the single biggest contributor to the UNIA, even before his legacy was written in a will. The other thing, and I can say we're looking for the actual document because there's a transfer of money of 150,000 towards the first ship that he bought from Isaiah Martha.
And I'll tell you something.
Let me 1 second. Stick a pin in it for me. Stick a pin. Let me introduce our co-host for the show. We've been on over a year now. Going for 2 almost now, Greg. Gregory Morrison,
since
of
April.
course. Yeah. Gregory from LA. And of course, Joe Jose Kawe from Belize City. Guys, welcome. Of course, Sharon is here. And no worry about that name, Louis Gill, that Emerson Gill, better known as Homie. You guys might know him, right?
Jose Kawe, my old examiner. International brokers. I have to say you helped me to learn international brokerage, the fine points of international brokerage at the time when I used to visit you at the customs. And thank you for that.
So you learn from the best.
Yes, I did.
Tell me, guys, why is it that Belize?
Okay, sir.
What that? Say it again, Sharon.
I said good night, Mr.
Oh, okay, good.
And Mr.
Good night,
Greg.
ma'am.
Yes, good evening.
Remember
Thank you
we
so
met
much.
last by Mr. Steve House, was it?
You did hear Sharon?
No, I didn't hear.
I think we met last by Mr. Steve House, was it?
You didn't what?
The last time you met was by Mr. Steve. Which Steve, Joe?
Nemhard.
Nemhard.
All
We
right.
made a round table and we made a talk about certain old time thing too. Right?
Really wrong table
We made a
discussion
chook
we had.
mouth. We made a chook mouth, you know, you could talk, you could converse, but when you chook mouth, that because it's deep something where only chook mouth you could say in terms of how you they go along, analyze, there's nothing pre-planned, but you know, that like one engagement, right?
But a Creole term, right? Chook
Yes,
mouth.
chook mouth. That's
Anyway.
you know, African methodology. Actually, I tell somebody chook mouth, and I may hear it from Dr. Bob Bennett, right? He used to say chook mouth when it comes to Belize. And somebody sent me that they saw it in Ghana, but it's an African methodology, and the easiest way to say it, the out of that the wrong table come. But you know that conciliation, but you know that we say children must be seen and not heard. But with chook mouth, even the children, whether they're around the table or in the yard and one tree, in that circle, so you commiserate, while you shush and gossip, you find out what people they do, you know, and you engage one another, right? And a lot come out of that. It's a healing and a coming together. While leave it back and forth, and you buck and tackle too, right?
Yes, and that's where we come to the understanding, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We're
I
not to hear
was
you, Mike. G Mike, we're not to hear you.
I was impressed with you all speaking of the memory of Liberty Hall,
Yes.
because I've been there many times. In fact, I go to the political meetings at both parties. You bad used to have meetings there, and then we used to have boxing up there. We used to have the performing arts.
Mm-hmm.
So right across the spectrum, political, social, economic, sports, everything was where Liberty Hall was for us then, like what
Yes.
maybe Bliss Institute had become. Well, not Bliss, yeah, Bliss.
But
Yeah.
what contributed to the fall? Why did it go into disarray?
Well, the last time I was there, it was boxing.
Was it deliberate that they
And that
left
had
it
come
like
to
that?
an end because they introduced, these were two American guys that came to and they used it for boxing. We had a good entertainment there, it used to be crowded. But one morning, exercise they were doing, they hit a guy and he fell and he died, And that was the end of boxing there. But I believe what happened with Liberty Hall, which will happen with any buildings like that, I think what Liberty Hall needs to do now is it has given us a pass, and it cannot give us as it was then because the times have moved on. But I think it should be remembered
Should
and
be
left
preserved.
there,
Should be
left
preserved.
there, right, preserved and left there with the history inside of the past. Because it won't be what it used to be. I mean, the time has gone.
But it could
But
still
the
be
history of it,
developed and become a venue where events and activities could happen and still become a
Certainly.
hub for gathering, because it's in a central part of the city, and it's a pretty large space. It's a pretty large open space as it was designed.
I,
And I know Ms. Sharon was talking about that at some point it had the Black Cross nurses. It had a lot of events and activities. I remember going up there once to see some magic trick from some people that had come from, I don't know if it was like Mexico or somewhere, but I just
yeah.
remember this guy sticking stuff in his skin and they pulling him up, and I was like, ah.
Deep,
I
deep.
have to let me bring you up to speed on Liberty Hall. I was in court, magistrate court today, where I have served all of the people in the property and eviction notice. And the reason for the eviction notice at this time is that we have been able to find the necessary funding to bring the Liberty Hall back to speed now.
Wow, that's good news.
But for us to do that, we're going to have to go through the court. We're going to have to revisit the Isaiah Mata cases. We're going to have to do all of this. And that is because we have already set the bar in the United States to bring the UNIA under one flag, under one administration, which happened between 2007 and 2010. In Belize, even though we've presented certain documents to NICH and different sections of the government, we are being ignored. And because we have been ignored, the case in the magistrate court is the first step, which happened today.
But you evicted the people from Liberty Hall. Who is now in Liberty Hall? Are people living in there or having
Yes,
business?
we have residents. We have residents in Liberty Hall
Squatters, huh?
who say they have authority to be there.
Oh,
So I have had to file a case. It was heard in its first step today. We have Wilford Felix there. We have a Blease there, who is a relative to George Price's family. We have some alcoholics also there, but they are not as bad as the ones who say they have authority.
but they what? They have because it's dilapidated outside. It doesn't look like anything that anybody could live in. They are in there. Are they vagrants? Are they?
I have a key to show you and give you a tour, my brother, and I would love to do that. For anyone who wants to do a tour right now before we begin to actually do the cleanup, it would be great, because You have to have a before story and the after.
Yes,
I
indeed.
go there 4 times a year and clean up that place. We were there in just before Marcus Garvey's birthday, where we cleaned up and piled the dirt outside. And I have to give thanks to the Belize City Council for cleaning up all of the stuff that we put outside on the street, because that's what we had to do to get the help. We were requesting assistance, but it never came. So then we had to take the bull by the horn and just do the work that is necessary. Liberty Hall is going to be one such animal. We're going to have to take the bull by the horn and do what we must to bring the Liberty Hall back into focus. At this very moment,
Bring our people, together. It has to be that, we find it such that we live up to what that is it compels us, right? The elders and those who went, the true elders went before, no, had, they had something special about them. I just want to say shortly now, that's Mr. Morrison. If you could please send a link to 622-8023 for me, because this phone is dying, right? But before I switch over, please, Mr. Morrison, I had sent you a message. I don't know if you got it.
Okay,
Is there a
I'll
message right there? Thanks, please. Forgive me, no?
no problem.
In 2003, when I was in Costa Rica, I happened to be in Limon, and I went by accident from the Methodist Church. I was looking for a restaurant, and when I ended up, it was a Black Star Line restaurant. The building may have lots of different color bright paint, and downstairs, I think they had a barber shop and some other things. But it was alive and vibrant, and I lose my pictures. I think somebody said the picture, the building,
I have a picture of that building. I have a picture of the Liberty Hall.
wonderful.
Yes.
Thanks. So I don't want a copy. But Liberty Hall, to my mind, has all the necessaries. And if we reach back and pull forward, it has to be about upliftment of our people, redemption of our people where they get lost right now. Make we put together the focus in electronic and hard media. It's a virtual living museum, and we have to put
That's
it
what
together. Honor those people. Present what Mr. Morrison they said. Mr. Cowie mentioned they had sports, boxing, they had entertainment, but we had some debates, we had presentations. It was a hub for very, very crucial and critical things when watershed crises and journeys in our country and people.
I have a theory that Belizean Creole have a low self-esteem because we don't promote our history. We don't know how good we are because we don't talk about it. Why is it that we can't look out for ourselves? Because certainly Liberty Hall is something that's as Creole as you could get then. It stands as a monument for for courage and bravery, and like you said, Isaiah Morta and Marcus Garvey, people who were instrumental in leading the charge in the revolution to come out of slavery then even. And that's why I say we have to do something to promote it and to tell our children, listen, we are good like everybody else.
I thought the idea of the museum is a very good one. And you could have lectures being given there as a museum because it do represent a past, a diversity of our past. I used to go there for UBAD meeting. I used to go there as a young boy for PUP meeting. They had the two political parties used to have
NIP, PUP,
there.
UBAD.
UBAD used to go. I used to go there for UBAD meeting. I go there for boxing. I used to go there for some of the performing arts.
Performing arts.
Yeah.
They used to have dances there at times.
Yeah. I was going to say that I have.
It does have a history, and I think the idea of the museum to preserve it. No?
Yeah, I did see somewhere in some literature there was a big event held there even before the two parties had split, the NIP and the PUP. There was a big event held there at one point. I'd seen some pictures of that at Liberty Hall.
Well, leading up to the adult suffrage we have quite a lot of meetings that were happening, and Liberty Hall was the center of many of those meetings.
Yes.
I think that you're so correct when you say we have to make it a museum, a place that will last. And
Woman, this
yeah.
Samuel Haynes Center for Excellence that this person is writing about, she says they need more space. They have good programming, but no space. Where is this Samuel Haynes Center for Excellence?
I think
The
it's
Samuel
on
Haynes Center for
Pitstop.
Excellence is in Lake I.
Oh, it is. Okay.
That.
It is. I have to say it's on the shoulders of SMUDCA, which is the St. Martin's Development Organization.
Is
which
it the
was-
one by the
That's
church, right beside the church?
Right, it's right beside the church.
Okay, they have basketball games and boxing and thing. Yeah.
There's a missing link somewhere, because we have the Samuel Haynes Center, we have the Liberty Hall,
Right.
we have FYA with Dungan, we had the one with the Don Albert Street where we were close to where George Gab used to there, back in the heydays of my childhood. But there's a missing link, because even at the Samuel Haynes Center, I live 2 blocks from the Samuel Haynes Center. I have an education program in my backyard, which was even happening before the Samuel Haynes Center existed, but it has never been recognized. So we can go to the Samuel Haynes Center readily and participate. That is something that we need to stop. We need to bring everybody together, because it is collectively that we have this strength. It is unity that makes us strong.
We don't.
Wasn't the Honorable Seth Ellington, wasn't he one time involved in trying to animate it once again?
You mean the Liberty Hall?
Yes.
Well, when
I
we
know he
do
was
it,
also connected with the Samuel Haynes Center.
I have to say this to you. There used to be a fight between politics of UDP, of NIP and PUP and UDP and PUP when it comes around the Liberty Hall.
And everything else.
Right. And I have to tell you, it is 2005, 2006 that Garveyites, which include myself, strung back the Liberty Hall from the PUP government, literally going there and knocking out the locks and occupying it. I was told I would be killed, but I've been told that many times. I was told I would be killed when I was going to the Sarastoon with Wilmy Hare, but we went nonetheless. Because there is something that drives us from our heart about what is patrimonial to us. For us, Liberty Hall is a part of that patrimony. All of the people, all of the things, all of the sea, all of the lands, that is what drives in my heart. It drives my heart to make me, sometimes I cry. Many times I cry just talking about it by myself.
I know.
Well,
I
I
remember
kind of support it. I do
when I
support
was
the
at
idea. Sure.
Sorry. Go ahead. No, excellent. But I feel that my view is that we should focus on establishing it. And you know what? The linkages could be made after, but let's do Liberty Hall for Liberty Hall itself as a standing monument. We owe it to our people, past generation and future. I remember when I did a 6
Sharon, let me go straight to what you just said. There has to be a trust, just like the Barron Bliss Trust, just like any other trust, the Rockefeller Trust, any trust has to be made around the Isaiah Martha estate. It has to become what it's supposed to be and represent what it was meant to be. And
Is there money there? Is there money there that could be had, that could be used?
Well, the Isaiah Martha estate has a value of its own. Why
Right.
we will have to say much?
Who has access to it?
The details.
Currently,
Isaiah Martha left $25 for his widow. All the rest of money. You had I think there was a Francis who came from Trinidad, and Isaiah Martha had his descendants' cousin Edith at Barracks Road, Glenthorne Manor.
Mm-hmm.
Steve used to live in at the house one time. You had Miss Winnell Grandborg, cousin Winnell. She died. Then you had her brother, Dr. Mike Grant. He was one of the first Belizeans, or the first who was in Essence magazine, a pathologist, and people sometimes say he might have had other talent and so on. No meaning in public
Mhm.
service, but you
Right.
know, incognito. And you had that whole set. One of the elders, cousin Lolly, and this is Wangichi one, he used to sell kerosene for lamp underneath Liberty Hall. And just like you had Turn with a lot of buildings, you had the martyr all around. Key
Mhm.
Chapel, when I got there at Sixth Farm, by the time I got there, when I did at Sixth, this a long time ago, you know. And I remember me and my friend Light one, we put with Lee barbecue, and somebody from Lee Hotel come and say, we have no permission to do that on the beach. Well, I'm a multi and I know me that Pitts, and me know Martha link to Pitts, and me know me that Belizean, and me know about 66-foot beach reserve. I tell the person send on a bus because we they enjoy for we beach on this property. Key Chapel was one of the jewel in the
Beautiful.
legacy of Isaiah Martha. Coconut King, that was a coconut, you know, cockle, that are the word for
It had
plantation.
upward of
Coconut
25,000.
plantation.
It had upward of 25,000 coconut plants there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there was
So
also
we have,
extensions.
and all around you had a lot of properties. But the thing is, the value tied up in the real estate, and the value can't quantify the value, the legacy and what it stood for and the
Yeah.
sacrifice this
Yeah.
man made. I could tell you
Stick
no
a
some
pin, Sharon.
details.
But
Stick a
The
pin,
where's the
when
money?
man died
Where
the other day,
stick a pin, Sharon. Let me put this in context for a second. You have to remember that a judge in Belize had written a verdict, written a statement that the Isaiah Martha estate could not be left for the redemption of Africa and African redemption. That is what we
where
have
do
to
you expect
erase.
that that was not a charitable trust that could be upheld? And yet, English courts, American courts, international courts will uphold trust for dog, cat, puss, rumpus society. But African redemption,
Mhm.
about African people, and you see where our people are now. And I want to say this, you know, whether Olmec or New Make, all of we were there, right? You got African blood and in a Belize. Let me tell a young man, Esquivel, when me did the archives, and me they say something. I said, Bali, maybe should do your DNA, you know. Well, he come back to a national museum day, and he gush and he said, Miss Sharon, I take your advice, you know. But you know, these things bring us together as a people,
Yes,
right?
yes,
It
yes.
brings me together, cut way. It harmonizes us when we understand culture and people, and one we not
Well,
stop before the other one start.
I believe that with the 23% of us that left now, of the population, the Creole, I believe that the Liberty Hall stands as a wonderful opportunity to reignite the flames of nationalism in this country for the Creole.
Well, not
I'm
only
not
in the country,
going
but
to be sounding.
the diaspora could be involved in that too. Needs to be
Yeah,
involved.
but I'm saying this because the reality, as I said on this show before, of the resistance to colonialism, which the center of the resistance was in the city.
Right.
But the leading people was the Creole. They were the one who led the resistance.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate that the promissory note was never delivered. But I believe that things like Liberty Hall, when you look at the rich history of it, and I was there as a little boy, so I know it for many years.
I learned my
Things like
carpentry
these.
trade there.
It's things like these we need to animate and bring to the consciousness of the Creole that we have a past and we can have a future and we can play a role again. We can be again, take
Sharon,
control back over the commanding heights at the commercial center. We had the
how
restaurants, we had the barber shops, we have all these things.
They
And
the
I think it's
trend.
about time we take.
Even when you go to school, you got your education, but you learn a trade. If you want to play the
That's
fool,
right.
you go play one musical instrument. I never saw you go to talk away.
That's right. That is true.
Sharon, how do we get
We are
above
talented.
how do we get above the political division? How do we beat that one? Because that has held us down.
Left politics out of the way, make we just bring in and keep in focus. Sometimes where you get into a kaleidoscope of confusion, I call it. when you focus on we bring people together and Liberty Hall, I hear Mr. Kowe, I hear you, gentlemen, and I hear other people out there. We have our heritage. We can't drop the ball. We have to hold on to it. Emerson talk about patrimony, talk about funding. We don't have enough talent amongst us and people, and you see how some of the oral history they come back through Mr. Cowie. I listen to my
Yes.
elders and Torah. I listen to some family recorded and unrecorded history. We could bring this back together, make we come together, and if Liberty Hall need to prop up and build up back, make we do it. God want give with the rest for do it.
Let
Make
me-
we demand that of niche, but if the politics want get in the way, we could start to nail and put things together.
To
Don't
preserve
think
it.
we
Yeah.
want to.
It's not only niche, it's not only niche, Sharon. It's not only niche,
I
Sharon.
could get banisters. I got something we could help prop up Liberty Hall.
Right.
But it's just to show, do we do a telethon? They mentioned Belizean Americans. Make we start it and see where we start.
I totally agree with you, Sharon, and I have to say to you that because I quarrel internationally so much about Belize and Liberty Hall and the UNIA, I have now been titled the third assistant president general with my credentials in my hand here in Belize now. I actually use it in court today. Now, when we can understand that work, that foundational piece that we already have now, in fact, Emerson Gill is titled and responsible for all of UNIA business in the Caribbean, Central, and South America. That's my work. So
But
every
if you take the case of somebody was mentioning about the coconut. Well, I remember the coconut because there was this big warehouse where we call Courthouse Wharf.
yes,
And we used to export coconut.
yes,
Because
that
we
whole
used to go
building.
there. We used to go there to get the rejects because when
Mr. Koye, I have a question for you.
when
Please
the
allow
coconut
me.
pass through the ring, they reject it. You can't export that. But the point I want to emphasize here, we have lost the opportunity for coconut as an industry to springboard industrialization in this country. But today, what happens? Some foreigners came to Belize now with money, and now they are cultivating 10,000 acres of coconut to begin to now start our industry. When we had the industry, and it was the Creole that had that industry.
Mr. Kowe, there's
That's
a way
an
how
issue
there's
for
a way how we have been displaced, historically displaced in just about every decade as we go from then to now. But here is my suggestion. Last year on New Year's Day, I began a pilgrimage which we call the Isaiah Mata Experiment, where I took 10 children with me to some old people in Hopkins area. And I took these children from the Lekai area where they don't see, matter of fact, they don't even go to the next block because their families and their uncles are involved with bank gangs and stuff like that. So I took their children, they allowed me to take their children on a pilgrimage to Hopkins, where we met a family that lives and has raised their family generational from coconut. So we went there for them to get that story. In 2 days, those 10 children were able to pick 600 coconut, make 5 gallons of coconut oil that we were able to bring to Belize for sale, and the people there got a hold of the rest. And the example and the model was the determination to create an industry.
Excuse me, I'll switch phones and then come back on, please.
Wonderful. We'll wait for
So,
you.
so
All
the
right.
Islamata experiment is ongoing right now because we have those same children learning to read and write. Because one of them is actually in high school and could not write his name. How does a child get from primary school to high school and can't write a name?
You need to ask more so than that, because many of them, they keep pushing them up. They don't feel you anymore. You just keep pushing. So somebody somebody told me the other day they were lowering the passing grade to 40. was at 60, which is crazy. It used to be
Used to be.
70 for me.
Yes.
So, but tell me something. I want to go back to the.
Excuse me, please. I'm having problems with the other phone today, the same charger. Is it
What?
possible for it to be sent by email? Then I come on back.
Yes, man.
Yes,
for sure.
send me your email address and I'll send it.
All right.
Oh,
My
okay. Hold on.
mood@yahoo.com.
Hold on. Let me
I
get
have
there.
to
Let me
put
get
my
there.
personal one. I can't even get in it.
Just a
SCAMOOD.
moment. Just a moment.
Mhm.
Okay. SCA.
M
Mm-hmm. Yes.
two O's and D SCAMOOD@yahoo.com.
Okay.
That sounds like a tall email.
Yes. Dr. Barbara Gomez. But gentlemen, what you're saying about this industry, as Mr. Cowie said, and we could touch on cotton and I like
Hold on, Sharon. Go do your connection. Go do your connection.
seaweed because we are get the same thing now blindside with everything if we don't wake up
Go do
time.
your connection because you touch all of the subject then. If we forget that we had an Australian scientist in Belize so many years ago, he came here to die. And a herbalist from Belize helped him to give himself another opportunity in life. And he was the first person that told us about the importance of seaweed many, many years ago, that we were supposed to. Professor Leakey was his name. Leakey was his name. I was a young person at that time when I heard this. And so I was enthusiastic and I invested $9,000
I'll come back one time.
but
Okay.
a long story short, we have Isaiah Mata land and we have a coconut plan. Shouldn't we revisit Isaiah Mata's industry as a Belizean patrimony?
But how about revisiting that with the money?
Well, the
Because
money we're going.
you said that a judge had passed some kind of ruling.
I have the headline paper from that time. I have
Yeah,
it.
but the ruling was that nobody could touch it. You couldn't use
No,
it
no.
for
The judge
black
said it was
development.
illegal. The judge said it was illegal. African redemption was illegal. Bottom line, in a nutshell, that's what he said.
But that was back then. Can that now be revisited and looked at again?
That is now that has been presented as evidence in reparation cases and stuff like that. So the evidence from then is being used internationally at the United Nations level in the forum, permanent forum for African descendants, and I'm in that forum. My voice is being heard there. But we in Belize, you guys are saying the right thing right now. We have to do something here in Belize. Let's do that.
Can something be done?
Yes, it can be done. Yes, it can be done. That's
So
what I'm
if you
saying.
have a ruling though that's being used as precedent,
It can't be used in the current international or geopolitical frame. Cannot be used.
Well, I can say this to you all, that I know for a fact, in the 60s and 70s, we had identified agricultural products that Belize had comparative and competitive advantage in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And what we had to do next, instead of waiting for the foreigner to come, we were trying to convince government to springboard the industrialization.
But Mr. Koyi, let me inject right
But
here.
what
2015, hold on, Mr. Koyi, you're correct. 2015, we had a garden right next door to my house where we experimented with fertilizer, naturally fertilizer and stuff like that. And we created our own fertilizer from sargassum in 2015. The government asked us to go demonstrate this fertilizer in Trinidad. I didn't go. I let the youngsters who we had trained go on that pilgrimage, and they presented moringa, sargassum fertilizer, and one other product. And we were supposed to use that to galvanize the youth movement. Can I tell you what happened, Mr. Koyi? Nothing happened. We have a German company in Belize right now talking about sargassum, and they're paying millions of dollars to our government or whoever to do whatever they're doing. And we have not developed the fertilizer that we used and presented at the Youth Entrepreneurs in Agriculture in Trinidad, 2015.
Well, right there in St. Lucia. Right in St. Lucia.
Yes, sir. That's where the industry, that's what I'm telling you.
Chemistry.
We presented and St. Lucia created an industry.
And the sargassum was playing havoc to the fishermen with their outboard. And the idea came up, and he did his testing, and he found that he began to open a factory now, and he's bagging fertilizer from it.
Yeah.
He's
3,000
harvesting it now
US dollars per ton,
because
Mr.
the
Cowie.
sargassum continue to move.
3,000
We
US dollars per ton.
We saw seaweed moving. Sargassum, larger than Jamaica. The trouble larger. Then
Yes.
we started the seaweed. Right, there was a seaweed farm. I think it was a few miles off the east of Placentia by the reef,
Yes.
where we had started to do seaweed. But again, what happened? This is where I believe that wherever you need to springboard certain industrialization, the state can see it, can lead the way, and guarantee investors with all that excess liquidity in the banks, buy shares in the companies, and we guarantee the dividends. Just like how they guarantee the dividends for taking over one gas company, butane gas. We never
Or
need
the
that.
port. Or the
Yeah,
port.
we're gonna be industrialized instead. So those
Or the
things you're
phone
talking
company.
about, when I look back on the coconut where we had an industry going and then it gone. I look back on seaweed where we had a start. And I could go on to name the other products that today still remain advantages for Belize. In fact, when you come to that very arrange, you realize that Belize arrange, because of the soil, which is unique to us, is used and bought for the coloring of Brazilian orange juice. Because only for we won't have it. God, that's our God indulges
But
with.
why are they saying that the orange industry is in trouble then? Why they had a day them in the talk about?
Hey, you ask a good question, but
Yes.
the irony is that they remove we industry for make somebody bring it back to we. That just like when they do to Africa, then send the raw material to Europe and then they sell the finished product back to Belize.
Well, you know they're selling coconut water in the can,
Yeah.
imported, and I'm saying you for every street corner you could see 2-3 coconut tree. Why would we want to import coconut water? That shouldn't even be allowed
Exactly.
to happen. And we have people also chopping coconut and selling coconut water on the streets. It was an industry.
It is right now.
Yeah, but I see a lot of them fade away. It's not like what it used to be. And I don't know if they're discouraging them. I know the price just gone up too. Because they used to sell a gallon for 15, now a half gallon for 10. So they don't sell the gallon again. And I'm saying, well, this one, I mean, just everything is going up. But we're not, it's not a organized industry. You know what I'm saying? They're just helter skelter, everybody all over the place selling it and whatnot. But I don't see why it can't be an industry as such.
We got to do it. We have to take the bull by the horn, and I think that that's the only way. I mean, literally. And then we start small and grow it into what it can be. I am saying that because that is how I have been able, with some volunteers, to maintain the Liberty Hall structure not falling down for the past 15 years. I have hundreds of pictures of the repairs that we do there to keep that building standing up.
I wish I could say I see what it has done, but it looked to me every time I pass there that I want just an eyesore at this point.
It is an eyesore because you have to remember, coming out of my own pocket, that is a ridiculous thing for me to say I will repair the Liberty Hall. What I can do until the finances arrive for us to do $2 or $3 million US worth of work there is just to make sure that the structure don't fall and is not going to kill some people that is drinking alcohol underneath there.
But I 2.3 million. What you do with it? I mean, because you will get a few nice Belizean carpenters. You build it back in a wood or
no, what you see, for us to do the Liberty Hall properly, I have looked at other historic buildings, how they've redone them, and it's meticulously taken apart, numbered, stacked in particular ways, and then we got to have, like for instance, the sidings on Liberty Hall is 12 inches. Nobody makes that anymore. If we want that to be a uniquely museum standard type repair, we have to be responsible to do it in that way. The Liberty Hall has interior spaces that we are not seeing that is in jeopardy. And we're going to have to remove those things. And the only way you can do it is to bring the building down and put it back up. But that's a different stage of work. What we want to do right now is to change the roof structure and cover it so it don't continue to damage the interior. Because right now water is coming through the building and is damaging floor joists, and beams.
Tell me,
So
Sonny,
yes.
I want to go back to the Isaiah Morton money because apparently the judge said it can't be used for African redemption. How about for the restoration of such a significant monument, a building that stands as a testament of Belizeans' will and courage?
G Mike, that is what we are beginning to do. Today's court at the magistrate court is the beginning of that.
So you
Because
might be able to access some of that money for that then?
we are going to recover the Isaiah Martha estate in its entirety as it is right now. We know that many people have sold off different pieces. We know of Lionel Francis. We know of our Honorable Mr. Courtney, who went to New York to complete a contract that was happening at a particular time in the 60s. We have all the documents now. So we are going to begin a process. We don't want to condemn nobody, but we would like to bring to the forefront the intention that the Isaiah Martha estate become a permanency in our historic record. It will be a little bit difficult, but we must do it. And we must do it properly and respectfully, because it has not been respectfully treated over the years.
Where's the money now? Who was it left to?
It was left to the UNIA.
Ah, okay. And now you are
And
part of
at the time when it was left to the UNIA, we had stewards that were Belizean. Mr. Courtney is one of the stewards. We have different other people who were parts of the stewards. But we have to revisit this in its entirety, and we must be respectful in doing it. That's where we are right now, and that's why I'm telling you, today was the first day, G. Mike. We were actually in magistrate court this morning at 9 o'clock. I was standing in front of the magistrate court with the eviction papers to start the process that will happen over the next few years.
And did you get a favorable response? Are they gonna allow you
Well,
to do
the
it?
court is not, we're not dealing with the Isaiah Martha estate in that term. I was only dealing with the eviction. We are at the very primary stages.
Does the court seem favorable?
Oh yes,
towards-
we got a court date for January 16th.
But you said some of those people in there have claimed.
They say they have
lineage.
authority. They say they have authority, so they will have to bring that authority that they have to the court to present it. I have my
obviously
authority.
Obviously, they don't want to come out willingly. You're gonna have
No.
to.
No,
All right.
it will. They will be subpoenaed. Information will be subpoenaed because that's where it has to go. It's going to be difficult, but we have to do it. Mr. Cowie, I do appreciate you talking about the Liberty Hall the way you have, because you are a testimony by itself about your presence there.
Oh yeah.
I got my training for carpentry and woodwork there as well. Mr. The man there, the backyard where Mr. Reno, you remember Mr. Reno?
That's right.
He's right behind the Liberty Hall. Now you know what's funny? The cobbler shop and the barber shop and all of the different shops that used to be in the Liberty Hall yard where you used to get apprenticeships for 25 cents, by the way. I remember mine at 25 cents. I don't know what yours was, because you're upward of my age.
What? Repeat that for me.
My charge for apprenticeship was 25 cents per week.
Oh, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
And I am sure that the apprenticeship was even before me. Might have been 10 cents when you would have been going there, but I'm saying that those things have to happen again. And can you see the industry that comes out of you bringing 25 cents to the Liberty Hall to pay an elder to teach you?
Homie, the money was left to the UNIA.
Yes.
UNIA station where?
At the time, it was New York, where Samuel Haynes and everybody had centered.
And the executors are who now?
The executors is me and you, Garveyites, today. We have to execute to bring this estate back into focus.
What about the people in New York?
The leadership of the UNIA is Clifford Miller Jr., and we have to now get all of their executive powers. We have used their executive powers to bring the UNIA from a splintered group into one group, full between 27 and 10. So Belize is now on its work to bring Belize's part to that history into focus. And the focus is the Isaiah Mata estate, which was determined to be illegal. The will of Isaiah Mata was determined to be illegal. We have to now make it legal and respected here in present time.
But it's going to be legal to the UNIA. But the UNIA,
No, hold on. Every single UNIA was independent. So Belize has its independence for the Isaiah Mata estate. It's not going to go anywhere.
But if you bring them now under one umbrella and you have one UNIA, international in UNIA.
There is only an executive power. It's politics. That's the politics. In underground, the Liberty Hall in Belize is going to be run by the UNIA in Belize. It's going to be in the hands of the UNIA in Belize. And the Jamaican UNIA Liberty Hall will be theirs for the Jamaicans to run, and every other space. That is what's inside of the revised constitution of the and bylaws of the UNIA that was revised 1938 by Marcus Garvey himself.
And so the money is going to be the UNI, the money from Malta is going to be given then to the Belize UNIA.
We are going to demand that.
Okay. But that will take some course proceedings and whatnot.
Yes, it will.
Correct. I guess Sharon is having some problem getting back in.
Sharon is going to be in the middle of that because we are going to need pro bono legal advice.
You need well, with that kind of money, you don't need no pro bono. Trust, that would be the challenge. Would be, of course, keeping your eye on the money. Because
I don't think that it will be, and I will say to you that when you can read the fundamentals of Marcus Garvey's work, you will see that it's so secure that we should not have had any of the problems that we had. When he saw the problems from 1923, when he began to have legal problems, to 1927, 29, when he's out of the UNIA and trying to find his way in politics in Jamaica and different spaces, he sat down between 29 and 1938 and revised that constitution to make sure that he would not have any of the thieves and scallywags that had abandoned him in the legal process. Because by that time, he had already seen all the charlatans. He had already seen the mistakes he had made. And in the 1938 revised constitution, you can find how he defends the UNIA and the philosophy of African redemption and self-determined independence.
So if you guys assume control of that money, then you have guidelines that you'll have to follow.
Well, remember, yes, we have
the reference.
Yes, that is perfectly stated there.
All right, and a big
There's
part.
one, there's one question I wanted to ask, and it's because I wonder about the trust for the Baron Bliss Trust. I haven't seen any new buildings or anything done in quite some recent years based on the trust money from that account. So do you know anything about that? And is that some of the money that could be used to also help in this type of project, for community project?
That's for you, homie. You gone?
I guess so.
We got you got to start to talk about the money now. But no, Baron Bliss money now. You have three
We're not seeing you on full screen, G Mike.
yeah, I think the CY is
no, you.
Yeah.
Oh, you. It's your camera focus. Yeah, that's perfect.
All right.
Perfect.
Yeah, but there are three people that the executors that will. You got a financial secretary, I believe who are Joe help me. There are three people.
Well, the only one I remember that the financial secretary,
Yeah,
ex
and there are
officio.
two more. I think Attorney General might be one, and some other person, a Governor General. Governor General is another one. So those are the three people that should be held to answer those questions, because we need to know. We should be asking, where is the money at? Because Brian Bliss did leave the money. None of the money, the principal should have been touched.
Right.
Only the interest could be spent. And there were a few things that were built along the way, but for the longest there has been nothing.
Right.
None of the money can also be spent for repairs on any of the gifts that were given. Anything that was built, like the lighthouse, if they want to repair it, government has to repair it.
Right.
Bliss, the nursing school, all of those. I don't know at this point, and I've asked every year. I write something and ask the question. I have
Yeah.
not received an answer yet.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to keep asking. And it's not like we don't need the money, because there's something like this, like Liberty Hall, of course, the refurbishing of that renovation could use some injection of some funds.
Or even some other projects, then the money is fungible, so you could use some other money that you are going to do for something else and move it over there,
I don't
but it
think you
just
need as
seems
much as 3 million. I wish you had spent
you
that much.
you probably do to restore that building to its old glory and make it nice. Yeah, the 3 million is he said 3 million US, which is 6 million Belize.
That's
So
a lot of money.
that seemed like a lot, but I'm sure it would take many millions to restore that building. It's a pretty large building, and it had a lot of functional use, and to restore it to that type of capability, I'm sure it would take some money.
Yeah, I wish they'd not give me the contract. I think I could do it for a little less than that. Maybe 5 million. Certainly. But
Okay.
Yeah,
our
that's
home
6
is back.
million. Somewhere get a
Wait,
for a brand new building, man.
Yeah, but
Well,
but pretty much you have to restore the building. I think if
I have
it's
to
going to
explain
be,
that
it's
to
going
you.
to
I have to
be.
explain. Let me explain that to you. Between 2006 and 2010, I had many different engineers walk through that building with me. I even had an international engineering company volunteer sometime, one that I worked with in the United States for many years. And so we're talking free services. The Belize engineers wrote the preliminary recovery and repair, and theirs, in just superficial, just what they call cosmetic, was 650,000 in 2010.
I can
Where,
believe that. That I
okay,
could see. Yeah.
no, and that cosmetic was not including the roof that is now damaged by hurricane and all of that. So what I am sharing with you is that we've had professional advice, and that advice is leading us to the 3 million US that we're talking about, because of the time and the cost of material today, which is now doubled or quadrupled.
But I think it could pay itself back too, even if they've got borrowed money to do that. Because take for instance, I had a boxing match the other day at the Samuel Haynes building, and it wasn't well attended at all. But something like that in a better area of town, if you will. And not no all due respect to the fact that you live there, homie, but more people would go to an event out there on Barracks Road than would go to an event
I
back
agree.
on that street.
I
So
agree.
yeah, so I think it would. I mean, and once you have promotions and whatnot, you could have boxing. We're trying to revive the sport of boxing. There it is, and there are many things that it could be used for. It could be rented out for conference halls and conferences and whatnot. Um, I mean, with proper management, I could see that paying for itself.
Well, one of the international engineers that came to Belize told us that the Liberty Hall should be completely covered and put inside of another building, and actually have the inside of that place be represented as that museum that Brother Cowie was sharing before, and Brother Morrison. So, and so I asked the question, well, why would you do that? Well, they said we're going into the future, and there's certain things that we're going to have to address. There's certain things that will happen to preserve that old structure that is there. And the best way to do it would have been like they've done in other major museums when they bring historic pieces. It is completely covered inside of another building. Well, that is an elaborate scheme where a building would be built and the Liberty Hall would be rebuilt inside of that building. That is the one that would have been a 21st century prospect. We're not even going to venture to talk about the cost of something like that. I love the idea, though.
All right. Again, Greg, did you send a link to Sharon's email?
Yeah, I did. I don't know what's happened. She
Yeah.
said she's backstage, but I was just going to try and reach Clinton to see if he's seeing her, because
You can
before
bring her,
he was not seeing her. So
But you can we wanted to talk some now about the old time Christmas in Belize, because that's a big part of it. We know where Christmas is next week, this weekend right here, guys. All right. I also want to big up our event in the park that's looking grand. I mean, it's really going to be a nice event. We're going to have Junkono dancers, the professional ones too. We're going to have the Boom and Shine, Mr. Peter's Boom and Shine Band. We want to keep that alive. That's a part of Christmas. A part of it that I don't know if we'll ever see come back was the guys traveling from house to house with a grater and a pot and spoon and all the motagan and whatnot, accordion some of them had. But that one part of Christmas that really sticks in my mind. I hope I never get rid of that, because it was a wonderful time to watch them guys just party. I mean, we were just, and there was no commercialism about it at all. I mean, just one fun time for everybody, and I wish we could do something like that. If we wish we would get back to some kind of some semblance of that kind of celebration. I see somebody coming here now.
yeah, I think
Sharon is
she's
coming
coming
in.
back. Yeah.
Bring back the whole Christmas. You know?
Well,
Yeah.
I remember them man used to walk the way call it walking stick and all that thing, and dance man walking stick when I was a
Right.
child.
Oh, yeah,
I
remember
used to
that?
be-
Yeah.
I used to be afraid of them people because some of them wore some gas little costume where women frightening to children. Because I might have been 3, 4, 5 years old when I did what I'm talking about. Because
Yeah,
I have not seen the stick dancers anymore in Belize. I have not seen them anymore.
In fact, we used to make our own stilts, remember?
Yes.
Take 2 sticks and put on 2
Welcome back. We can see you.
Hi, Sharon, you're back.
But G. Michael, the
Uh.
stilts that we used to make not compare to the one we used to see them people dance, man. They
Yeah.
were like 8 feet tall, 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
Well, you see them in the States also, even now in parades and whatnot. There's always somebody walking on the street with some of them. I don't know why we don't. Another thing we don't see that some of the toys we used to play with, like Top, Caparuche, Cat. We used to build only cat and whatnot. We don't see that anymore.
I don't
Well,
think
the
that's
last
coming
time-
back.
Yeah.
Anyone of you know where the word Jankuno came from? Where we got Jankuno stick.
That
Yeah,
Janko
you know,
the stick. That's exactly what we used to call the man on the walking stick, Janko the stick.
Why Jankuno? I wonder.
Because of the
Yeah.
dance that they actually do the Janko no dance.
Actually, it came from the name of a person, Jan
Yes.
Cano,
Yes.
and he was an African revolutionary
Yeah,
that
he
had fought against the
colonial masters.
the colonial the people bringing
You
the
sure
slaves.
of that? You sure of that? Or that's
yes,
on
it is.
story here somewhere?
No. They,
yeah, that's a
apparently, it's in the museum.
That's a fact.
It's in the museum. In
Let me
I
let
can't
me
remember.
bring, let me bring
If
let me
Deetra,
put some,
if Deetra is on, she could help us with that.
let me help
So
you with that. Let
she's
me help
very
you
good
with that.
it. Yes.
Jean Canu was working for a European who had supported him and the people working for him in the anti-colonial struggle in the particular part of Africa where they were.
Yes.
And when the the owner of the business sold the company without letting Jankono know. Jankono kept the fort going in his own hand after it was sold, and the Spaniards could not never get inside. Eventually, they beat him, and they regained control of the fort because it was actually a fort that was trading.
Yes.
So Jankono was trading for about 10 years while he kept his revolution alive. He was eventually defeated.
Where was this at?
It might. I will give me a moment. I can find the name and send it to you, or I can share it with you at a later time. But I have all of that record because of my search for Creole history and culture.
Yes.
But it wasn't in Belize, though.
No.
It wasn't in Belize, but we have our own Belize pieces that has the same story.
Yes.
Jankono in Belize was the same. It was an anti-colonial celebration at Christmas time.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That we could get back to.
Yes.
Greg, you lost that train of thought, you know.
Well, I was trying. No, I'm trying hard to remember what country in Africa he was originally from, and it's actually in the museum in that country. They have a whole history of him and his revolt and his defense, as Louis was saying, and so that's what I was trying to remember the history, but I couldn't quite get it. But I know Dietra has been working on putting together some of that in trying, because there have been a little bit of a debate and discussion whether Drankunu is a Garifuna or a Creole
or an African
origination. Well, it is African for sure, but
Yeah.
it is whether it was originally in Belize.
Okay, let me give you the history, because you guys made me go into my records. Jankono claimed and took over Fort Fredericksburg for 7 years.
Yes.
He maintained trade lines with all nations. Now, that Fort Frederick was in Gold Coast, Ghana.
Ghana, yes.
Okay,
so that's where the museum is.
Right, that's where this whole Jankono celebration originates. And
how did they tie it into the festivities as we know them?
Jamaica was the next step that culminated, that attracted that. I guess some of the slaves that came out of the Gold Coast landed in Jamaica, and they continued the celebration. And from Jamaica, it is satellited throughout this region.
Does it give any link to the mask and the stuff that they wear, the beads?
Oh yes, the mask. The story of the mask is a ridicule of the white man. One.
All right. Okay.
And it was also to evoke fear to whomever they would want to frighten.
Well, it worked for you. Sharon, are you back?
He got dropped off again. She dropped off again.
And it looked mute at all. It looked like
and the time that we're talking about is 17.
And a delay, but we'll see. We hear you now. Yeah.
And that Jankono thing is, its timing is 1724.
Okay.
So, all right, but the connection is that they were just making fun of the colonial masters and trying to send messages to one another,
right,
etc.
Right.
Yeah. But it said, now, how did it become a part of Christmas, though? You know,
because at the time when it was done.
That's the only time. That's the only time the slaves really had off.
We're not working, right?
Yes,
right.
That's the only time that they had off. They were off for Christmas, so that's when they had their big celebration each year. So that's how it became part of the Christmas festivity.
And here is how it comes to Jamaica: the politics of protest in Free Jamaica, Kingston, Jankono Christmas riots, 1840 and 41.
Wow.
Jamaica used to have a lot of slave revolt riots. I have read over.
But this particular one is given historic reference in Jamaican history. I have to tell you guys, I have been very much interested in formalizing Creole culture and history and documenting it. So that's how come I have these notes on my computer stored. it's quite beautiful to see how John Canoe is a part of our culture.
Yes.
It's a little bit frightening to hear people trying to circumvent the actual historic record, though. So that part is funny to me.
Yeah. Well, I think what I understand about it, it pretty much left the Creole culture because at some point it was considered mysticism and such, and as Creole start adapting more of the English sensitivities
And
in
Roman
their
Catholicism, I guess,
yes,
the
yes, and
church.
religion and
Yeah.
such, they gave up on it, and it then was seconded by the Garifuna people, which was for a long time, outside of that sort of religious, since they had their own culture and
And
stuff.
tied into their own mysticisms
Well,
and
well,
whatnot.
we have to look at this again, because we have to find out where this separation comes, and I'll tell you why. My family has a historic contribution to Garifuna culture in Belize. When the Garifuna people would come to Belize and with their permit to leave before 6 o'clock in the evening and all that kind of stuff, my family had a property on New Road where they all used to sleep and bring their stuff. So we were like the middlemen trading with them so that they could come and leave and we would have their monies for them. And that happened for years. My grandfather's brother was married to what would be classified as a Garifuna princess. And at the time, the Creoles would call my family Caribbean lovers. That's a whole other story. But we lived with them and they lived with us back in the 20s, 30s. Somewhere we begin to split where we have a separation between Creole and Garifuna. Somewhere where it comes, we have to talk about these things.
Well,
But
but it was back there to start with, though, because when they couldn't come within 36 miles of the city, certainly, and the rationale was, from what I've heard, that the white man were afraid of them because they were more warlike, and Belize, of course, the Belizeans were more, docile and they
they
tended
have been giving us the rum to
tolerant.
drink and made us drunk.
Yeah, but I don't know why. And again, though, we hesitate to believe the things that will make us feel better about ourselves. We always when think about the worst part of it. And anytime somebody come up with something like about what you're doing there, Flowers Bank thing, the September the 10th celebration, first thing I hear, oh, well, that come and it never happened. Me not believe no black man
Yeah.
with no cucumber stick, man, fight side and no slave master and whatnot. But I don't see why you can't believe that. That seems quite logical to me and why it could happen.
Well, the mere fact that we had public meetings and were in terms of public meeting governing our country, we were a part of that system. We were voting before, we were voting in elections and meetings and making agreements based on vote before adult
Yes.
suffrage in Belize.
Yeah.
So this Belize has a unique
And even before the U.S. in some instances,
Yes.
as I had looked at, as I
before
had
you-
looked at
military
history.
revolution. We
And
were
you say
before
men and women, men and women, right?
yes.
I don't know about women, but I know men. Well,
had-
yes, women that had property.
Yes, men
Yes,
and women
yes,
of
yes,
means.
yes,
That is
yes,
how it's
yes.
written in our history.
Yes.
Free men and women of means is the exact quotation out of our historic record. Free men, free black men and women of
Colored.
means.
Yeah.
Folks, it's a pleasure. We lost Sharon again, and we really Sharon was all hype and
Yeah.
going, boy. And there was a topic that should raise passion in all of us. I mean, we have to be more concerned about where we're going as an ethnic group, where we're going as a country. The way the situation is now with the world too, and I think this is why we have to be so very keen about and aware of what is happening over there in Palestine because of the fact that we're so so much in a position. We see Venezuela now making moves at Guyana, and the kind of the same thing. So if I think if that precedent is set, we're gonna have to unite as a country and be ready to deal with whatever eventuality shows itself. No, because we yeah, I mean, we can't just sit down and rely upon Big Brother to watch over us all the time.
Nobody
We
will take care of your business for you like you should.
yeah, and we're
That's
grown up.
correct.
We're growing up. We're 42 now and growing. While we are young as but
No, G-Mac, I want to tell you this. I know I knock your 42 number, but we are grown up and thousands of years old. We have, it's a historic tapestry of this geographic area that we are going to have to tap into to understand who we are as a people. And I think we've been tricked and duped for too long. But before
with the
we
type of independence as an independent nation, because certainly we've been here. I mean, 1798 and
political
before.
independence, they call it political independence 1981. Let's give it its name and how it's described as political independence.
How do you?
Our patrimonial independence is 1797. Okay, in terms of our culture at the current time. But even on before that, there's so much rich history about Belize on the record that we can look into. Because at certain point, some thousand, at maybe 1,000 years ago, the Belize was a center point for this whole region where taxes were being paid because of the capital that in the Mayan history, what existed in that culture. So there's so much. I know you want to go down that street at the moment. What I would like to share, and thank you guys tonight for inviting me to share with you all, the fact that you, Mr. Cowie and Mr. Morrison, and you, Mr. Reed, Sharon, we have this passion for Belize, man. We have this passion to preserve our history and culture. Because of the position I have and because of the authority vested in me, would love to partner and shoulder to shoulder with you all for us to repair the Liberty Hall so that we can make the Black Cross nurses a permanent home there right now. Because that's what we were trying to do on Marcus Garvey Day, birthday, and the people that were there called the police on us. Call the police to put us out of the yard.
I would recommend a GoFundMe, but there's some certain people might jump on me again because they know an emergency. But
It is an emergency. It is an emergency.
all right.
It is an emergency, brothers.
Yeah.
Sisters, Sharon. It is an emergency, and I would stand behind that 100%. My personal account would never be used. The Black Cross nurses have an account. They have 17 volunteers that walk the street and help old people who can't leave their homes and stuff right now. So
they're still active. They're active in Belize.
Black Cross nurses have never, it was never dysfunctional in Belize. Even when they never gave them nothing, they
my
will
grandmother. My grandmother was a Black Cross nurse, so I have great passion for them.
So you can understand the current president of the Black Cross nurses is the UNIA president for Chapter 230, UNIA Belize Division.
Who is who?
She is Miss Karen Taylor, president of the Black Cross nurses and current president of the UNIA in Belize.
Big up, Miss Sharon Taylor. Karen Taylor. All right. How strong are they now? What kind of, as far as numbers of them?
There's 17 active persons who go to give service to elderly people who are bedridden and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And cook and provide food.
You know if they do recruitment, because it seems like 17 kind of small for a country like.
Well, let me say to you that there was supposed to be a team effort which would have included the University of Belize to train Black Cross nurses as a subject matter so that we would have been able to make it the kind of service provider that it can be.
And it used to be. Nurse Cleopatra White came out of the Black Cross nurse.
That's right.
Many other Nurse C, I think.
Yes, Vivian C.
And many other stellar nurses through
well, Cleopatra is historic because she provided the politics for village councils.
Of course she did.
Yes.
Mitch and Roberts, maybe? Because
Matron Roberts as well. This is what I'm saying. This history, if we begin to go down this history, let's just put back the services that used to come out of the Liberty Hall back on track. And the first piece would be to make the space available, repaired, and prepared for the Black Cross nurses to become a center point in our effort.
well, it's noteworthy also
And,
too then that they've named institutions of all these people who you're talking about. Certainly Cleopatra White, Mitchell Roberts, and who was the other
Mercy,
one?
Mercy.
Vivian
Mercy.
Wilhelmina C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Do,
mean,
do we know how revolutionary Vivian Wilhelmina C was in that particular time? Because you're
Yes.
talking the time of the coming out of the caste war in Mexico,
Yes.
and you're talking about her going into Mexico to teach English language under the time of revolution. Can we imagine what she may have been involved with or have been doing in that particular time? We have not even investigated her historic record.
but she was a Belizean though.
Yes, she
Yes.
was.
Yeah. I mean that's a part of history also. I'm going to talk now about history and what ought to be preserved and taught to the children, and that certainly is a part of what we should be passing on to them. So I don't know that we're doing enough
We,
to
we, we no we
inform them.
make ourselves hero-less. We don't
That is true.
celebrate we
That
don't
is true.
celebrate the people that have laid the foundation. So we think we come from nowhere and we
But
have
I-
nothing to hold on to.
Yeah,
would-
go ahead, homie.
I would venture to say, because most people don't know that I am on the ground daily. I have just 2 young people that I can afford to tutor daily now, and we have a little thing we call the University Without Walls, the Beatrice Kingston Smith University Without Walls. That is what has been happening in my yard for over 25 years. Because Miss BK used to teach at the prison, and I used to be one of her supporters going to the prison with her to teach. I eventually did a research paper from an experiment I did for 1 year in the prison in 2010, 2011. So there is continuity. We continue to try to do these things that we experience for the children today. But I can't afford to do 100 children. I can only do 2 with the funds that comes out of my revenue stream. Okay? And I can tell you, I normally have 10, but I had to wean it down to 2. You see? So we need to have this happening at the Liberty Hall, where instead of we going into somebody's community, the community is coming to the Liberty Hall, and we can do 100 in a classroom instead of 2 or 3 or 10. I think that is where we should be pointing our efforts.
Are you back, Sharon?
Yes, I can see her.
I
Can
see
you
her.
hear me? Can we
Yeah.
hear you, Sharon?
Let's wait for
Sharon? She's still
Oh.
down,
Our
man.
computer is frozen.
Yeah, it's not and that's unfortunate because we waited so long to talk to Sharon. And not that
We've
we
been-
don't
we've been-
enjoy
we've been-
talking
we've
to
been-
you. Yeah. Yeah. But it's we have to invite her back again, of course. And when she gets going, she has a lot to say, and bright lady.
I wanted to talk to her about land rights and communal land and constitution
let's
and
see
all those things.
Let's see what Homie thinks about that. What do you think about the land rights of the Mayans down south, Homie, about communal land?
Well, the Mayan, they never really had private land before. They have private land and also on communal land now. That is a creation. That's a colonial creation, by the way. This whole land ownership and land titling is a colonial effort that is
Yes.
tied into the what you call the estate, or not so much the estate, but
But we can't get away from that. That's what we have now.
no,
But,
that's what we have now. That's why I'm saying. But we don't understand the trust, titling, and all of these kinds of stuff. We don't understand it.
But
So
you
this
go
is-
to the bank and you go get a mortgage. So
The Mayans never owned land. They were
No,
always transient people moving.
Right.
They
Right.
they just used the land. They never exercised ownership and possession of it.
They
in,
they
in,
they
in
their
their
own
cultural history.
their slash and burn agricultural methods tells its own story, because after you slash and burn here, you have to go slash and burn somewhere else. So that's
Correct.
You
the
got to
thing.
You
move.
can't plant there again.
Right.
Yeah,
Guys,
you give it 3, 4, 5 years to recover. Yeah.
we
Right.
dip on a home stretch talking about things we want to talk to Sharon about. I see the foreign minister resigned. I didn't
Did
get the
he?
full
Did
story.
he? Did he?
Yes.
No, that's not a resignation. He's just stepping away from the. But they still keep him in the cabinet. They still keep him as the counsel for the
All right, but they're
ICJ.
keeping him. Apparently, though, he's not.
He's
He's
still getting paid,
true.
so he
He's
hasn't resigned. He just went now and dipped his toe fully into his private enterprise and will
while still
reap more
getting
from
paid.
and will reap us more. And I think, as we talked about last time, he was put there for a certain purpose, and now that that task is done, he's moving back to his homeland.
And I hear the prime minister trying to put it, say, oh, he was only supposed to be there for 3 years. That's kind of like him telling us that the CEOs themselves did not want to take the raise. They actually they were against it. And
Yeah.
I don't know how many of us are stupid enough to believe that, but I'm not. And
Yeah.
I don't know though if it's gonna. The unfortunate thing is that we do not have a viable opposition. We do not have an opposition in place. I don't think we're gonna have one under Shine Barrow because there are not enough people that have faith in him for him to get any kind of power at all to wield. He does a lot of showcasing and whatnot. I don't know that Belizeans are ready to give him because of the fact that by being a leader of opposition, he can very well be the next prime minister. The UDP also would have to be a force, more of a force than they are, which they are not. So I don't know. We're going to happen? What's going to come from this? Joe, are you following the story?
Yeah, I am. I'm very familiar with Eamon. We and the Prime Minister. We worked together for 10 years. And he's a brilliant fellow, no doubt, very resourceful,
Yeah, of course.
hard worker. I don't have a problem with he remaining a senator. I wouldn't have a problem with he still overseeing the International Court of Justice issues we have. But my concern would be more that it's very unprecedented, but not just being unprecedented because it could be still something good. But the one that doesn't resonate with me is how you will continue to have cabinet privileges.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one I
Yeah.
cannot
What
understand.
the hell is that? They're just creating
And then,
stuff.
because of the way it is being done, it leaves the room open for me for doubt. It seems that it
Corruption.
could have been they were not able to see eye to eye.
With
And
who?
maybe an easier way out is what they are doing.
Who
I
could
don't think
he
I don't
not-
think it he have some the prime minister, everything that comes out of the prime minister mouth is what Eamon Courtney writes. There's
But
no
apparently it's not-
separation. There's no
but the-
separation
but the
between what the
problem-
prime minister says and what Eamon Courtney has written
Greg,
or have said in the
apparently,
past.
Well-
apparently the problem is not with the prime minister,
No,
but with the E CEO.
Well, the CEO doesn't govern the prime minister, right? So I don't see that as an issue.
I don't know if you're asking me or telling me because I don't know. I mean,
No,
Greg,
I'm saying if you have a disagreement with the subordinate of the prime minister, that is not a problem that you can't resolve because the prime minister is the person in charge, and he has a higher ranking than the CEO of that department. So it doesn't make sense to me that is the reason. I think the reason is that the business he was doing for Ashcroft is finished. And now he's moving on to occupy his full position in his law office. He was there for a specific purpose. And now that the port is settled and all the Ashcroft business is resolved within the cabinet, he's now going back to his home yard.
but who
That's it.
was he working for? The government or for Ashcroft? Which one? Yeah, that has to be the question.
Mr. Courtney was the troubleshooter in terms of all of these port
All right.
things and all of these other things that had arisen over the past.
But obviously, he wasn't doing too good a job. He wasn't representing us well because we've been
Well,
losing
because
all the
well,
cases.
if we want to talk about the results, he has not represented Belize.
We've
He must
lost
have
all the
represented.
cases.
He must have represented some other.
interest.
other
That's what I'm saying. That's exact. But he
Okay.
didn't represent the government in any of those specific cases, but he was the front for it, right? He didn't legally represent the government. That's what I'm trying to say. But as I see it, his job of placement is finished, and he's moving on back to his private business where he
Yes,
could make some more money.
Well,
I agree with that.
And
well,
represent the
this is
government
what
some more.
this
Though.
is one of the concerns I believe when it comes to people in public office. There was a fundamental principle that you must conduct yourself in such a way so as to leave no doubt in the minds of the people. Now, when you part ways, as in this case, it leaves a lot for us to speculate.
Correct.
And depending on how your feelings are and your emotions and your partisan maybe feelings in particular, you will speculate accordingly. But if I rationalize it, I don't think Iman was sent there for the purpose of arranging for the sale of the port. It don't
No,
make
not
sense to me.
necessarily, Brother Coy.
Huh?
Not necessarily that, but he made sure that the language, the political language, and the legal framework kept the gray area gray.
I can't see that in what transpired. I don't see that in it.
Well, yeah.
What I am saying is that
We just
I
have
would-
to lift up and look under the page, and we'll see it.
Yeah, but I'm saying to you that I speak to you obviously as an independent thinking person. I did support the party. I have been in it for many years. But I myself have some serious concerns about it as it is today.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is that I don't think that the way they parted ways is good for the government.
I agree.
That's the
agree.
point
But,
I want to
but
make.
they need to come clean. They need to be
That's right.
transparent
Yes,
and let
yes,
us know exactly
Yeah.
what is going on.
Because what
And
happens,
that will
it
remove the
leaves-
speculation.
It leaves the door open for speculation.
Yeah. No. And
And then
I
when
mean,
the speculation runs wild, and then people hearing, especially when you are in public places, and some people will believe you because they will not take it as an opinion, they will take it as a fact.
well,
And that
maybe
is
we
why I'm
could
saying
have
that.
maybe you could have Iman.
Well, the
on
only
next
person
week.
that
Do you know him?
could clear it up with the facts is coming in from the people that are actually the actors, right?
So let's
So-
bring in either Iman or Jean Briceño. You got the juice, Joe. You could tell them to come. Why? We're running out of time, guys. We're up. Homie, we really want to thank you. I'll give the opportunity to wish people out there Merry Christmas.
I
And,
want to say, I want to tell you this because this is happening in my community right now. I have had to fight for Burgerfield to remain Burgerfield. And we cannot continue to have political interference erasing national historic history.
Yes.
Because Burgerfield is a piece of history that is special to my community and to me. As a 12-year-old, I helped to build that with monies raised from cake sale, cake raffle, and including we used to wash 300 or 400 quart bottles off the jungle that used to be back here and bring it for Perdomo, who would then give us some
I see.
tips on how to raise money. We used to actually broke down chaps and lay with public work truck that very ground to then give we one load for a chap around. That is how Burgerfield was filled, along with other ways, of course. But that was one of the easiest way that we found because we couldn't afford for filling.
Congratulations. Very job
But
well
we
done. I
built-
must congratulate.
Right, we
Yeah.
built that with our creativity and the assistance of these drivers who would tell us one thing. No make when I drive back past in a 1 hour, I see that pile of Sunday become my boss and fire me. And you know what? You know what, my brother? Between 15, 20 minutes with 30, 40 of us with shovels, then sun used to disappear. So that another load could come. Because that's how we did it.
Come on.
That is the
But-
message. We want to tell the minister that is doing that work that he can make contact with Emerson Gill, because I represent the Burjack Football Club here in Belize at the moment. Because we need to talk. I don't want to go public and fight with him about Burjack Field. A program now has to develop. Who has built the best program for football in Belize? I created the Macalays, the Kayakatus, and the Kara Kislings, who are the football greats, male and female, in a program at St. Martin's Football Field yard, because Burjack Field had become a shooting ground gallery where people couldn't play football because people used to go with guns. Let's bring back the program of development to Burjack Field.
That's
All
right.
right,
You know, as you talk,
well
as you
done.
talk about the erasing of our heritage space, I think of the renaming of some of our streets. And while they put
Oh yeah.
some notable names on it, I
Yeah.
think it is totally inappropriate because of our historical connection to those streets. And I don't know what the government is doing. Some of them are saying they're trying to erase everything colonial, but
Which is
it
ridiculous.
totally,
Really.
it is, yeah, because that is our history. That
You
is
can't,
our
you
history.
can't, you can't release that. You can't do it. We can lament it. We can regret that it happened, but it happened. So, and a
Yes.
part of us, indeed, many of us came. But we all of us, as a matter of fact, have different within us of the genes of the slaves and the slave master. So.
Yes.
I mean, there's no way we can erase that. What we need to do is look where we are now and move forward from here.
Build new streets and name new streets with the names you want to
Exactly,
bring.
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
I mean, you got
Yeah.
enough to do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know where the one ought to be. You know where you come out. If you up the road and coming down, or you come from off of Chatham Boulevard to try to get to Broadis, you can put one Lee Street right there. From the other side of the roundabout, running, so you don't have to go all the way down, Mr. Man, to Mirab. Make a turn around. You know how much gas you waste on that? Well, the government gets their share of taxes. You cannot do that and take advantage of people like that, man. It's wrong. So I think that we have the gentleman, Joe,
Amen.
last show before Christmas,
Best to you all. Healthy and happy one.
right?
And to my old friend there, Mr. Gill.
Yeah, Gregory.
Well done, my brother.
I have to tell
You are
you,
doing a
Joe,
good job. I must congratulate you.
I thank you, man. Hey, I have to say, you guys helped create me. That's what I have to say. Because when I used to come to you with some wrong entry, you tell me, come on, look to this thing go some, man. This thing go some.
Gregory, Merry
Good
Christmas.
evening. Merry Christmas and
Time
wishing
for
all
Rolf, you know,
all that have joined us. And I think we have one more show before the new year. Or are we gonna not have one next week?
why not? I don't know. What we gonna do? I
We're
mean,
gonna talk to CY and see.
and let's see what happens, right? Gentlemen, homie, thanks again, man. When you see
And-
Sharon, you have to tell her.
Yes, we have to get her back to complete,
Get
complete
her back
thought and go into some other new subjects.
Yeah. So, some of the things that we didn't get to.
Yeah.
Help us to make the pilgrimage to Flowers Bank on June 1st every year become a fixture in our history.
Well, by the time we get around to that time during the year, we're going to definitely have a special show for that and do what we can to raise awareness, because that has to be promoted and put on the calendar. Let us know that let us know how significant that is. Our children don't know and they have to know. Guys, thank you very much. Have a
Thanks.
very Merry Christmas, everybody. Enjoy yourself. Happy Boxing Day. Enjoy the week, the festivities, and please, if you get a chance, if you're anywhere close to the Charlie Burton Park, drop in and get some good old-fashioned Christmas vibes. Respect every time. CY, are you there? We're gone.
Good night, Mr. Cowie.
Good night.
Mr.
Yeah,
Gill.
man.
Good night,
Good night, man.
Louis.
Respect
Okay.
everybody.
Good night.